What important speech delivery tool can you use that will keep people on the edge of their seats, eager to hear more, and transform your speech into an experience? Well, the answer to that question can be found in your next weekly dose of public speaking medicine. Hi, this is Michael Davis, your public speaking MD. So what is this magical gift that can transform your speeches into memorable experiences and cause audiences to want to hear more? There's nothing wrong with your video. That's the answer. Silence. Now, I know I'm not the first speaking skills coach to ever talk about the power of silence. But the problem I have is when I listen to most speakers, even some highly paid professionals, they don't effectively use silence. It's an oxymoron to say this, but it's true. The most effective and persuasive speakers have almost perfected the art of being quiet when they need to be. Yes, the best speakers know when to shut up. So what do I mean by the phrase, the best speakers know when to shut up? Think about a presentation you've heard, maybe in your industry or from one of your favorite topics. Chances are the person presenting might have been an expert, but you walked away feeling stuffed. If you've heard my video on feeling like a Chinese buffet where we just eat so much food, well, speakers can do that to their audiences. One of the big reasons people feel stuffed not only is because there's too much information, but chances are that speaker did not give you an opportunity to think about the implication of some of the key points. I've heard a lot of good speakers, at least good in terms of content, who've given me a lot of information, and I'm a note taker because that's how I best remember. But I find myself frustrated after those events most of the time because I haven't had the time to think about the implication of some of the key points. Maybe it was a financial planning workshop, management or leadership seminar. That doesn't matter what the topic is. They didn't give me time to feel or experience the presentation, and it was quickly forgotten. Now, why is it that most speakers, even though they know they should pause, why don't they do it? Well, I think there are two reasons. Number one, most people who get up and speak are very enthusiastic about their topic, and they've got so much information they want to share, and that's where the problem begins. You may have seen my video on what I call the 10-to-1 rule of thumb. That means for every 10 minutes of speaking time, you should talk about one main point. Well, most presenters I see have a 2-to-1 rule of thumb, where for every 2 minutes they're hitting you with a brand new piece of information. It's too much. So the number one problem with people not using silence is their enthusiasm. The second reason is insecurity and fear. When I work with new speakers, I ask this question: what do you think the audience is thinking when there's silence in the room? And most people will say, well, I think they're probably thinking about, is there something wrong with the speaker? Did they forget what they were going to say? Are they getting bored? There are all kinds of answers I receive. The reality is, when you properly use silence, the audience is thinking about what that point means in their lives. So for example, when I do my storytelling workshops, I often ask the question, how much better would your life be if you could double your number of prospective clients in the next 6 months? Now, usually when speakers ask that kind of question, they'll ask it and they give people about a second to think about it, and then they move on to the next point. Now, what I've been trained to do over the years is when I ask a question like that, stop long enough to let them think about it. So for example, I might even answer that question in my head as if I'm hearing it for the first time. So if I ask the question, what would be the implication if you could double your number of prospective clients in the next 6 months? I might think, well, I probably would double my number of sales. I'd probably attract twice as many clients and probably have twice as much money to spend. That's a good deal. And then boom, I go on to my next point. What I'm trying to do in that moment is put myself in the seats of the audience members so I can think about the implication of the question just like they are. So how do you overcome this problem of mastering silence in your speeches? There's no way around it. It's practice. When I first started speaking, and my issue was I wasn't using silence and pauses. My mentors taught me that I should go for 1 second in my next rehearsal. And then once I got comfortable with that, after a couple of speeches, add a second to it. And keep adding a second until you've got enough time built in for people to think about your points or to laugh at your humor. Now, a practice technique that I picked up along the way was actually to practice my pauses much longer than I would ever do them in a real speech. In the athletic world, there's something called muscle memory. Golfers use it to get used to swinging a golf club. Quarterbacks in football use the same motion over and over to train their body. Soccer or world football. If you're not an American, it's football, I realize. They get used to kicking a certain way. So muscle memory can be used also in speaking, that concept, when practicing pauses. So if I have a line in my speech and I'm thinking, the audience probably needs about 3 to 4 seconds, I will practice for 6 to 8 seconds. What I'm doing is conditioning my body to get comfortable with so much silence that when I'm in front of the audience, I can pull back and be very comfortable standing there for just 3 or 4 seconds. That's nothing compared to my rehearsals. So that's how you overcome the problem of not using silence, is to get in there and practice it, get comfortable. What I would suggest is the first time, do it for 1 second, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Do this, and you'll become a master of the most important delivery tool that you can use. Silence. I look forward to seeing you in our next weekly dose of public speaking medicine.